Welcome to the DJ Insider Podcast, sponsored by Amplified Events.
It's the only podcast where we break down insider information from our weddings, experiences, and advice from over 15 years in the wedding industry.
We're your hosts. I'm Mike Kane, owner of Amplified Events.
And I'm Chris Zart, general manager of Amplified Events.
Let's get into it. Okay, well, we're back. And today we have a very special guest from Sugar on the Rim events. We have Gina Bombin.
Yes.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. And so kind of starting off, kind of what services do you offer? Tell us a little bit about kind of what you do and your background, how you got into it.
Sure. So Sugar on the Rim Events is a full-service event company. We offer planning and event management. We also offer design and decor rentals and fresh florals depending on the event.
Nice. And so how long has Sugar on the Rim events you've been doing it? How long have you been doing it?
So my career has evolved over time. My life and my path in life has what's led me here. So I will get into that part of it. So for over 20 years, I've been in the design world. It was always something I enjoyed throughout my life, just crafting and being creative, owning a home goods store and having a little gift shop in Whiting. And in that, we used to, in our store, just throw a lot of different events. At the Christmas time, we would do something called the Mingle at the Market. Every August, we would do a customer appreciation event where we would block off the street and we'd bring in the bartender and we'd bring in a band and, we would allow people to meet our artisans and creatives that we sold their items in the store. So we would let them all set up booths. And so with that, it kind of just, again, evolved into then people asking if we could run their events and, put up markets for them and do their small weddings. And being that in Whiting, we were right there on Lake Michigan. It was the perfect spot to have intimate weddings and elopements. And I was connected to a cafe, so we would have their dinners right up there. And it just ended up really working out. And it just kind of again led me over into then starting to be asked to create bigger events and coordinate and design. And in my store, obviously, there's always a thing where you have to create the best. You want somebody to see something the way you would present it in their home. So then I started playing with fresh florals and decided that it was very therapeutic for me. And I just wanted to learn more. And the one thing about me is I never stop learning. I absolutely love to learn. I will dive head first into anything new that I want to learn. And that just always takes me into some different direction and different path that I end up just loving.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you kind of this is the trajectory of that all. But before you know it, I'm already running an events planning company, coordinating all these things.
Yeah.
Didn't even start out to do that. Just wanted to do a fun thing. And
yeah. Wasn't on the radar at all. I mean,
so Sugar on the Rim, is it full-time for you now? Is it part-time? What?
Yeah, so Sugar on the Rim is my full-time job.
That's awesome.
Full-time plus 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs.
Are you still operating the store there, or is that closed?
So, no, we closed the store by chance, just pre-COVID. Was very grateful that happened, and then went into coming out this way. So we were in Whiting, and then just a few years ago, we came out to Chesterton. So it's kind of been a whole new world.
That's awesome. Now, it's just you, or do you have a team that you work with?
So I do have a team during the season. Mm-hmm. So the season, there's always a team. I have a right-hand man, so-called. Her name is Nicole. She's fantastic. She pretty much helps me get through events. She is my lead assistant. And then we have set up strike teams that we bring in. My husband and my son are volunteers.
They work for the company. Yeah.
My mom and my best friend often volunteer as well. So anytime, and that's the hardest thing about events is it is seasonal. So being able to employ a team full time is just sometimes just not possible. So we pull on people, we pull on friends, we pull on just other experts in the area that sometimes might not have something booked themselves for that weekend, and we just kind of, creating that network is key when you own your own business.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. And to me, that energy is very kind of infectious when you start getting into planning and the positivity. That was one thing. I met you a few weeks at a bridal show, and
Yes.
I was just struck by you're just so positive and just so talkative and friendly. You came up to us and was like, "Oh, this is so nice." So I was like, "Oh, we got to have her on the podcast."
Thank you. Yeah, I'm honored to be here.
Oh,
really.
so great to have you. And so I could just tell that it just felt like when you're doing this that you put your kind of everything into it.
Oh, my heart and soul.
What are some things that you love about doing this work?
Honestly, for me, it's my clients, it's my couples. I love being able to relieve that stress. Taking one more thing or three more things off their plate during a long process of planning is really joyful for me. I mean, a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes and the stress that happens, not only on us, but for my couples or my clients that are planning events. Events are special. These are special moments in time that you're never going to get back. And so if I can make your event beautiful, part of your dream, and take the stress off while doing it, that's it for me. That's all of it. It's all of it for me.
That's awesome. That counts for a lot. You're taking somebody's vision, bringing it to life, but also day of helping them, manage the stress of that and taking the stress off them so they can just have a good time. That's a big thing.
These are, again, especially in the wedding industry, in your wedding, you're not typically going to do it again. And even if you did do it again, you're not doing it like this one.
Yes.
They're never the same. So why miss the day? Because you really essentially miss the day when you don't have proper hands to help, when you don't have professionals running it behind the scenes for you. You are being bombarded by the other vendors and questions and even your own guests. And then you don't get to soak in those moments and those memories that are really the importance of the day. And you're not being in tune with your partner either during something like that. You can't, because you have to disconnect from them to have to pivot and answer a question that you shouldn't be being asked as you're walking up the altar to say I do. It's something that I find that if you budget for it and you allow for it, you'd never do an event without it again.
Right? Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's so important when you don't do it, you realize, oh, I should have done this.
Yeah.
But then it's too late.
It's too late, and you've missed out, or family and friends have missed out because they're, lending a hand, and then they don't get to be present in your day either.
Yeah.
And I hear it all the time from moms and mother-in-laws and aunts. I'm not helping because I want to be there for the day.
Yes.
We need help. We need hands. I don't want to be the liaison. And that's why we're brought in. And we're there to take care of all of that. And I know sometimes expenses and budgets, they're a reality. But if you can cut back in a different area to bring in someone to help, it'll be worth it.
Yes.
You're not going to miss out that extra donut or that extra whatever, You're not going to miss that. Your guests aren't going to miss that. But you're going to miss a whole lot if you don't have someone. You really are.
Yeah, really, it's so true. This past Saturday, we were DJing a wedding, and at dinner, we were just talking about planning and how important it is to have someone to help you coordinate. And they brought up that, the person I was talking to brought up that, you should be the guest of honor on your wedding day. Of course, you are integral to the plan, to the day happening. You're the big event that people came to see, but you should also be a guest at your own wedding and enjoy as a guest. And having a planner helps you do that because you're not working. You're not having to worry about this. If there is a problem, you have somebody you can go to handle it and deal with it for you.
Exactly. You should be the guest of honor.
You should be the guest of honor.
Especially at the most expensive event you will ever throw in your life.
Yeah.
It is your day. It's your day, and you should definitely be the one being honored and enjoying it to the fullest.
Yeah, totally. So those are some of the fun things that we love. What about some of the challenges of planning, coordinating, doing all the decor, all that stuff?
Weather.
The weather. That's a good one. That's a big challenge.
The weather is probably the biggest challenge. And even if it's an indoor or outdoor wedding, it's still challenging. The wind is probably one of our biggest challenge, and a lot of people don't think about the wind, but the wind can really mess things up, even more so than rain.
I can't even imagine setting up decor. And
Everything becomes a flying object when it's windy, and it doesn't even have to be that windy. Drapery becomes sails.
Wow.
They just go. They just take off. And it could be wind that we don't even feel. It could be just like and there it goes. Like, pieces of paper go everywhere, menu cards, all that stuff. Like, they just end up everywhere. So if you're having an outdoor wedding or an event of any sort,
wind is a factor.
Wind
Weather
is a huge
factor.
factor. Weather is a huge factor. And even if you are indoors, getting the stuff from point A to point B, because obviously when you hire a baker, your baker has to bring that cake. So if it's raining or if it's snowing or if it's windy, it could get wet. It could fly out of their hands essentially. I know when we bring in fresh florals or the wind will just take those flowers. Yeah. It'll take it out of that vessel without thinking about it. So it doesn't really matter if it's indoor or outdoor. It's the weather will always be a factor. If it's hot, your flowers will get zapped. They will wilt. If it's too cold, they can freeze. The weather is a huge factor in all things events. So everybody has to have an open mind. Go in wanting it to be perfect and knowing that it's probably not going to be.
So are you always like week of? Are you always like looking at the weather, checking it?
Always. And actually when
on top.
when I'm event managing, I will actually send a text message in the morning just to my client just to let them know how the weather is going. If we need to make last minute changes because it's going to rain, we have to have that all made first thing in the morning. We can't wait till, even if your ceremony is 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, we have to know by noon if we're shifting and going indoors, because chairs have to be moved, the team has to be compiled. There's a lot that changes when it's a rainy day.
And I imagine it affects too, kind of what equipment you're bringing, what stuff you're not, and how you're setting it up. Because if it's going to be windy and we're outdoors, or if we're indoors now, that's going to be a different setup than if it would have been outside.
Yeah, a lot of weight bags, things holding things down when it's outside. Also, the one factor too I don't think a lot of people think about is the ground is not flat.
Yeah. That's so true.
So, I mean, concrete inside or a floor inside is flat, but the grass is never flat. The ground is never flat. So you might think you're going to be able to set something down and it sit and be fine. The ground has a different plan for you.
That's so true.
And I mean, those are all the things that us professionals have to know that people, when they don't, this is their one and only, they've never even thought of. And that's what we're there for. We're there to plan and execute based on our expertise in how long we've been doing this. And that's kind of why it's so important to have us, because we're going to see things before you ever will. Just because we've been faced with challenges and difficulties at every event. No event goes unscathed. They really don't.
Yeah, it's kind of everything could go wrong at any time, but you have to have a plan and a backup plan, and that's the best professionals do that. We adjust. Wind does affect us with DJs. The microphone, you have to put a windscreen on.
Yeah.
You got to cut that low end. If it's coming in hot, you can't even hear what the person's saying. And we'll switch up the type of microphone we'll use if it gets bad enough, depending on what's going on weather-wise. We see a lot too, like you said, the ground if it's wet, it gets muddy and gets trampled really quickly. A lot of guests, 50 guests walk through, that's going to totally change the grass, the mud, all that.
Yeah, and the thing is it might not even have rained recently.
Yeah.
It could have rained a week ago. That doesn't mean that ground has dried out, especially if it's a
clear
heavily
day,
forested day, area. People love to have that backdrop of trees and the greenery in their space, but the air doesn't flow the same way in those types of environments. And we're very well known in Northwest Indiana for the clay that we have. Mm-hmm. Clay is like concrete. The water just doesn't move through it. So it could have rained Saturday the week before your event, and on Saturday of your event, that ground can be still squishy.
Yeah.
You know, those all those things play factors. Chairs aren't going to sit the same way. Your guests' high heels are definitely going to sink into the ground. You know, your dresses are going to get dirty. There's a lot to think about when you're doing an outdoor wedding, for sure.
Yeah. And so speaking of kind of like crazy or wild weather things, what are some crazy wild experiences that you've had working weddings?
Well, if we want to talk weather, having the most beautiful day, and then at 5:30 when guests are arriving and your ceremony is starting, it downpours. We get those like Florida rains where 30 minutes, that's it. You get this massive downpour, and then the skies open up after that, and your evening becomes beautiful. But the amount of damage that 30-minute rain, even a 15-minute rain can do, unreal. We went out to West Chicago about 2 summers ago and draped a tent, and a full drape of a tent. And sure enough, 15 minutes before, soaking wet. At the end of the night, there was no even, we have a system where at the end of the night, you fold up all that drapery, everything goes back the way that it came out. Mm-hmm. That less on me when I have to get back to the barn. And honestly, it's only me in the barn sometimes. So staff at hand has to learn to fold. There's no folding when drapery gets wet. It's finding garbage bags, throwing them in there. It never goes. You have to fold it also because of the way it compacts down. Yeah. When you just throw it in a wadded mess, it's not going to compact the same way. Well, it definitely doesn't when it's wet. It's a colossal mess. They're extremely heavy. They're heavy to begin with. Drapery's heavy to begin with. And then when they're wet, they're even
sponge,
heavier.
I imagine.
It's a horrible, and they're always white. I mean, obviously they were once white, and then that mud popping up and getting to the bottom of those. I mean, do you have
to take those to a dry cleaner? Or can you wash them at home?
They have to go. They have to go to a dry cleaner and be cleaned, and they're sometimes 15 foot long. So
stuff you don't think about.
The stuff you don't think about. The many tasks and challenges.
Well, that's an added cost for a business owner too.
It is an added cost. Yes.
Well, that maybe the couple wasn't anticipating. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. No, the couples don't anticipate a lot of that. They don't anticipate.
They don't have to. They don't work in the drapery.
They don't work in the drapery, and that's fine. And that's exactly why we are in the position and the professionals that we are, and that's why they do what they do. We have to give props to the professionals in all of the industries and let them do what they do and let us stay in our lanes. You know?
And it's just such a wild thing. We lost some speakers and turntables and microphones last year to water. I mean, every year it's usually something that gets dropped or damaged or wind will knock it over. It's crazy what can happen.
It's crazy, and those are all they're all expenses. They're usually expenses we don't plan on. And that takes. To get to the nitty-gritty of the business side of things, it does take money out of our pockets.
Yes.
We've definitely had that money allocated for something else.
Yeah.
And
now we got a dry cleaner bill.
You got to dry clean. It's just something. It's always something. I think I always think I'm getting 2 or 3 steps ahead, and then something puts me in my place.
Wait a minute, reality, something else. Yeah.
Right.
What about any sweet, memorable things that you've seen or experienced at weddings that really stuck with you?
Yeah, so I have to talk about my sweet couple that I managed their event last September. The one thing I like to tell my couples, especially during rehearsal, is stay together, hang on to each other, take those moments away from your guests, and just soak the love in. And this sweet man, he took my advice to the T. He held his wife's hand from the second they said I do. He was with her all night long. Every time she needed a break, they'd kind of like find a little corner or a little bench somewhere and take a minute. And he stood by her side all night. Aww. And you could see the love in his eyes. He loves his wife. And, those moments, you're just like, I'm so grateful to be a part of that. and just to watch their love grow and blossom. And the one thing I love is when like the clients come back and say, you know, we're having a baby. We want you to do our baby shower.
Yes,
You know, or
yes.
now she's 1 and we need the first birthday. And, you know, I love it when I get to see that, the life happen. You know, I don't want to just be there for the day of the wedding. I want to be there for their entire life. When that first child goes and graduates high school, like I want to be the one doing their graduation. You know,
Yeah.
it's that life, but you know, those memories and we get to start from the I do and end up all the way to the retirements. And we love it. We love that. We just, you know, they're special. That's a special.
Yeah.
That's special. When somebody trusts you so much to let you continue to do all of their events, that's something.
Yeah, it's an honor, and it definitely touches your heart. That you're touching my heart thinking about that. Like that's so sweet because it's just undeniably a beautiful thing, and you feel like, wow, I got to see that.
I got to be a part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for couples looking to book a planner or coordinator? Kind of what to look for or what to avoid?
My advice to all couples that have not booked a planner or a coordinator is you need to do it. There's again, we talked a little bit about this earlier. Find it in the budget. Find it somewhere. Your day will be drastically different when you bring someone in to facilitate and manage your whole event or that day.
Yeah.
We don't really say day of anymore. It's month of. We also are transitioning in the industry to event managers as opposed to our wedding managers as opposed to coordinators. We get a confusion. A lot of people get confused that, well, my venue has a coordinator. Your venue doesn't have a coordinator for you. Your venue has a coordinator for the venue.
Yes. Yeah.
So we get a lot of that. And I'll always say, make sure you know what that coordinator is doing then. Sometimes they will set some things up, but they're not always going to set some things up.
What are their specific tasks?
What are their
like,
specific
responsibilities?
tasks?
Yeah.
And they are not there. If this is a venue coordinator, they're not essentially there for you. They're there for the venue.
Sure.
There's a different perspective. So my thing would be absolutely 100% put it in the budget right off the bat to have a month of, or even partial planning or full planning. Full planning could really take a lot of stress off. The way I look at it too is you are going to plan your event for a good 18 plus months, but you're working during that time. Your full-time job is something else, and life happens. We got holidays. We have other family events that we have to go to. We have our own day-to-day that we're managing, and it will take so much stress off, and it will get you excited for the planning process when you have someone helping you facilitate the details, because the details are where you're going to get bogged down. And when you are going to family and friends for advice, they're going to give you their opinion.
Yes.
They're not going to look at it and say, well, this is your day. No, they're going to give you their opinion and how they would do something, and then it's going to confuse you. It's going to frustrate you. I've seen long-term friendships shatter over weddings. Weddings really do sometimes bring out the worst or the best in people. And so when you bring someone in to help, you can be taking breaks. And when you go on date night, you go on date night, and you're not talking about your wedding because you've already discussed what you need the planner to do or the coordinator to do. We get lost in that world especially when we're getting married, and then we don't think about all the people you're kind of ignoring in 18 months because you're so focused on that day. And I see so many brides, a lot of this on Facebook and couples in general, that they're doing everything. They're making their cakes. They're putting their flowers together. They're making all the thank yous and the little trinkets that they're giving out, the party favors, things like that. And you have no time. I mean, if you're working and you're managing your home, and maybe some of the people even have children,
Yeah.
where do you have the time? And so you are 100% during that process going to get burnt out. You are going to get burnt out, and the joy of planning a wedding is going to disappear, and you're going to wish you never did it. So if you have some help, you have somebody to rely on, and honestly, somebody who's being paid.
Yes.
Because that person is going to work for you.
Yeah.
Your family or friend that is volunteering isn't necessarily going to work as hard for you, and it's not nearly as important to you. But that person that is making their income off of you is going to focus on you, and you're going to be extremely important to them. So they're going to make damn sure that your event is perfect and that they're alleviating as much stress from you as they possibly can. And I think a lot of people lose that. They think that, oh, my family is going to do this. My best friend, my maid of honor is going to
show
do
up
this.
for me.
They're
They'll
going to
take
show
care
up.
of it.
They're not. They're not. And it's a hard reality for a lot of people. There are people that don't hire us for strike, and the bride's doing it herself at 11 o'clock because nobody thinks about after the wedding either. They don't think about the after wedding.
You got to tear down, and you're wearing your dress.
You got to tear down the family or the
everything's got to be cleaned up.
Everything's got to be cleaned up, and your venue wants you out. They want you out at they've had a long day.
Yes.
They want you out at midnight. If your contract ends at midnight, they want you out at midnight. Because they're tired and they want to go home too.
Yeah.
You know, they have the floor to sweep and the tables to clean up and the garbage to take out, and you need to get out of their way.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so a lot of people just don't think about it. They think about all the goodness and all the happiness and all these wonderful things, but they don't think about the dirty.
Yes. Yeah, it should be just such a fun day party event. But also there's a lot of work that goes into that they're not thinking about, that they should hire someone, first of all, to help them plan it. And second of all, of course, if you have your family doing that, like you said, they're going to suggest what they would want. But is that person a wedding planner with years of experience? And they can bounce and tell you, this is a good idea, or I like that idea, but I don't think it's going to work where your venue is. Maybe do it this way, to give you an alternative or an idea to bounce ideas off of, to help make your vision come to life. A family member is not going to necessarily have that experience or knowledge of that venue, of what specifically is possible. They may have, drapery is going to be tough there, or it's going to be great there. If you haven't thought about drapery, you should, to add it. It's going to add this effect. It's going to look like this. Those type of things. We have a lot of time on the DJ side, especially with the timeline. Or we have couples who are like, let me just give the exact order of songs. And I go, well, we can do that, but my guess is you're going to have guests on and off the floor a lot. They're going to like this song, they're not going to like this next one. Really what you're paying a DJ for is to throw a dance party, to keep people dancing, using their experience, using their knowledge of what songs work at weddings and what songs don't, and why. And also, sometimes it's a great song, it's just a bad time to play it. You just should have played that later or earlier or whatever, and adjust, based on the energy of the crowd. They're still getting dessert. They're not ready to get out there and bump and grind yet,
Yes, exactly. And they don't have enough drinks in their system.
That's it, yeah. Or they're not ready to sing punk rock, if that's
exactly.
at the end of the night or whatever.
Yes, exactly. There is one, too, that, a lot of times, talking in with, them not thinking of the full picture, when I am hired for coordinating, we do a brief, a discovery call, and we talk, and then we get closer to the event. About 6 weeks to a month in, we are then actually going through the wedding itself and doing the timeline and making sure that I know that who is in charge of what for them. And a lot of times I will, the brides and grooms and the couples will say, oh, we just have that. Oh, we just have that. There's not a whole lot of this. There's not a whole lot of that. And then I'm always following up with, well, who's in charge of that? Well, who's in charge of that? Well, who's in charge of that? And they're like, I don't know. Well, doesn't the florist do that? No, the florist does not do that. And so
the cake person doesn't bring a thing to cut the cake with.
Wedding cake knives are always forgotten. Luckily, it's in our arsenal. We always bring one. I always ask at the month meeting. I always ask if they have one planned, and if they don't have one, don't worry about it. We will bring one. It's the most forgotten tool.
Oh, I'm sure.
It is the most
all the time. I've seen it happen. They're like, supposed to cut their cake, and if I see it and it's not set out, I'll go ask the venue or ask somebody, so we don't have that embarrassment. But because I've had it where
that's not your
I was
role.
I'm a DJ.
Yes,
I'm not,
exactly.
I don't have one of those in my bag.
Right. and that's a lot of what. Yeah, we actually end up on a lot of our month of meetings is converting up. A lot of people pick us for one package and they're like, oh, wait a minute, we need you for this too now, and so then it'll convert from coordinating into that decorating and strike team. And it happens often, and it's definitely something that always gets booked last.
Things you don't think about.
Things you don't think about. But I do want to stress to everyone out there, if you're planning a wedding plan, hire your coordinators, hire them now, get on their schedules because the good ones fill up.
Yeah. Well, I like the term manager too. I like that. It's a little different. And it evokes, it's not just coordinating the timeline. There's more things to manage the day of, the staff, the people, the timeline, all of it.
And a lot, so, we've seen it where the venue's linens haven't come in, and I've got the florist right behind me, walking through the door, and she can't set anything.
Can't set up because we have to have the linens on the table before we do.
And the linens aren't even en route. We've had to pull from other people. We have to call in favors. Sometimes we can pull from our stock, but we don't have linens. Linens aren't what we do. We've seen it where, especially golf courses, you can't get on the golf course right away. You have to wait. They have to close the golf course down. A lot of people don't realize that. So, and I can say it, until I did a golf course wedding, I didn't realize it either, but they will only shut down the course for so many hours for you. And so that way the florist can only set up, if they're bringing in an arch, they have less than an hour, because they are going to close down that ceremony space for you for an hour.
That's it.
But that's during your ceremony too. That's your guests arriving. So your florist might have 15 minutes. So we've had it where the florist has had to set up on the side, and we've relocated. Well, again, that wind, it changes, and those flowers can tip over. So we've done it where we've had to pull. We always bring our toolbox with us. So we've had to pull out scissors and screwdrivers and all that, just holding flowers down, And so again, like, without us, those flowers would have been on the ground.
Yes, yeah.
So crisis diverted. Every event has something. Every event has something. And if I was not there, the bride would have been the point of contact. And that's not what she's trying to do. She's trying to get in the bridal suite with her family and friends, getting ready, drinking mimosas, laughing, taking pictures, soaking up the day. She doesn't need to be thinking about the fact that her flowers are about to end up in the pond.
Yeah, right? She shouldn't be. Yeah. No. That's why you hire somebody.
That's why you hire.
What about working with other vendors? What advice would you have vendors working with managers, coordinators?
So my advice to vendors when they're working with a coordinator is communication is key. We're reaching out for a reason, and we're reaching out 6 weeks to a month in advance for a reason. We just need to know that we're all set, we're planned. And at that time, even sometimes I have to tell the baker, like, maybe some changes, or just in general telling the baker something, because things change. A lot of times during that time too, the baker and the florist need to communicate, because there needs to be cake flowers. And somebody has to get said cake flowers over to the cake.
Yes, yeah.
So like there's things that are happening, and we have to facilitate all of that, which means we have to put that down on our schedules. So we need to know in advance that cake flowers need to get over to the cake, what day, how long, when. Sometimes they can be put on at the facility, and sometimes they don't. They have to be, or at the venue, and sometimes they have to be put on before. So there's got to be some communication there. We can't wait till the last minute to start asking questions or answering questions. Like, it really needs to be planned out, because everybody has something else to do. Sometimes rehearsals cannot be done on Friday nights because there's a wedding on a Friday night. So sometimes we're moving that rehearsal to a Thursday. The DJs need to know that. That people need to know those things. The officiant needs to know that, because the officiant.
If the DJ's working the rehearsal or something.
But sometimes the DJs are there too. Yeah. So everybody needs to know in advance what's going on, and then being willing to adjust when
Yes.
things change, because that is the key to the service industry in general. But to what we all do is you have to be able to be flexible, and you have to adjust at a moment's notice. And the better you can do that, the better everybody is going to be able to handle that event. Open your documents. Check your emails, check your spam, but open your documents. So we do it where we send out Google Docs, and I put the whole vendor team in that Google Doc, and then they have access to the timeline and all that. I have so many that just never even look at it. They never look at it, and then they're texting me or calling me last minute.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I find they're actually contacting the couple. And I'm like, no. That's what I'm here for. That is not their role of that day. That's not even their role of this week or this month. You have to be contacting me. But the only people that we don't directly contact much with is the glam squad. They know what they're doing. That's a different part of it, all of it. But DJs, photographers, florists, the bakers, the venue itself, you should be contacting the coordinator at that point. Your contact person is no longer your bride or your groom. It's the coordinator.
Yeah.
And that's why we're hired.
Yeah.
So being open-minded to that too. And what else? I had something else.
Those are both really good things.
Yeah.
Communicate, open your documents, direct your questions to the coordinator, manager, planner.
You'd be surprised. And I don't know if it's just an our area thing, and our areas, maybe we're just not used to coordinators yet. I know that a lot of weddings happen without them, and they're fine.
Yeah.
But I find the photographer gets pulled in
Yes.
all the time to keep the timeline going,
Yes.
and that is not their job. So what you're doing is you're taking a person who is there to photograph or video your day, and that's their role.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to miss a shot if somebody's coming at them, asking them a question, and that shouldn't be. That's not what they're there for. I mean, important shots can get missed because somebody is treating them as the coordinator and not the photographer or the videographer that they are. And I see that happen too. I see also, Instagram, Facebook, they're flooded with photographers that are just pleading with couples to have a coordinator, have an event manager, because it usually falls on them or it falls on the DJ.
Yeah.
One of the two, because those are the ones that are in the room.
Yeah.
The DJ's always in the room, the photographer's always in the room, and
Yeah, they come to us a lot. And I was like, I'm not coordinating the timeline. I am announcing the timeline.
yes,
I'm telling people where to go. I'm running the,
yeah, you're acting as the MC.
but I'm not the one who organizes it to begin with. I have some suggestions and ideas, but I tell them, talk to the venue. If you have a planner, talk to your planner, talk to your photographer. Then I was like, meet with me last. Go with what they say, and then I'll adjust.
Then you'll adjust.
Yes, I'll make suggestions. This is a good time to do a cake cutting at this time, or speeches is good here or not here, that kind of thing. When are they serving dinner? Those are all things.
Right.
People are like, how can it's 6 months out? How come I haven't met with my DJ? I was like, because inside even a month, you're going to have a ton of changes.
Yes.
That anything we plan is going to be totally different.
Correct.
By the time the day of the wedding. So
Correct.
we've learned to just show up and sync up our schedules. Talk to the planner, talk to the venue. When is food coming out? Talk to catering, and then talk to our photographer and video.
Yes.
Are you taking them for sunset photos?
Right.
That kind of, all right, well, you just take them and we'll wait. We'll do the speeches when they come back, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot happens. I mean, the sunset photos are something that everybody wants to do, and I love them.
Yeah.
But there's things that have to happen in that gap time that
Yes.
we need to be doing, because people don't realize that couple just left for sunset photos. They're sitting there thinking, well, aren't we seating for salad?
I've had them where I'm like, where did the couple go? Nobody told me. They just
Nobody
disappeared.
knows. And they just disappear. So that is something that, we all need to know in advance is happening.
Yeah.
The venue does, the DJ does, the coordinator does. Obviously, the photographer is going to know because they've suggested it and they're the ones going out to do it. But something needs to fill that gap of time.
Yeah.
There needs to be something for the guests to be doing, because a lot of times they are getting seated for dinner at that time. and then the couple leaves, and everybody's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? So there's something, we have to come up with something creative in that time frame to have for guests to do, so we don't realize that the couple just left. Because sunset photos can take a while.
They can.
They mean, there's times they can take 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes they're quick. You never know.
And the sun's not going to wait. That's kind of
Sun
that
is
is
not
locked
gonna
in
wait.
the time
That's-
frame on that.
Yes.
So you have to adjust your schedule accordingly.
You have to, yes. And a lot of times it's around that time.
Yeah.
Sunset drops
Right.
at dinner.
That's it. And you want to have the food hot and ready. All the caterers are worried, is this food going to be hot and ready for the guests, ready to go?
Yeah.
Can't serve cold food.
Can't serve cold food, but it happens.
It does. It does. But those are all things that are so important with, coordinating, planning the day, and everybody syncing up, communicating their.
Communication is key. Communication is key in everything, but communication is high priority in the event and wedding industry. High priority. Everybody needs to be on the same page. Everybody needs to communicate. Everybody has to have open lines of communication.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that the people always talk about when they come out, but responsiveness. Just to, like, somebody send you something, send it back. Just message, oh, I got it. Thanks so much. Appreciate this. And this looks great. We had a planner reach out recently. They want to know all of the songs. Do you know why that? I was curious about that. That just maybe that specific planner wants to know the music.
Maybe it's a specific need of that planner, but normally I don't need to know all of the songs.
That's what I can
need
send
to
you
know
our
some
thing,
of them songs, but I don't need the whole playlist, nor do I want the playlist.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's maybe a request for certain songs based on vulgarity or something like that.
That could be.
But that could be expressed in
struck by that. I was like, what?
that could be expressed. Like, we just want to make sure that there's nothing vulgar or cussing or anything like that. We're going to have, my 80-year-old grandmother there. We don't need her listening to the WAP.
Sure.
So, that would be, I think, a planner specific, but no, that's not something I've ever requested. And I think that clients, our couples, definitely express needs and wants when they're booking a DJ. But really all I need to know is the certain songs for their, obviously during the reception, the first dance, the daddy-daughter,
events,
those ones. And then the ceremony itself. But for the rest of it, no. And I get just as surprised as everybody else. And yes, I'm in the corner breaking it down.
So sometimes on podcasts we talk about, branding and basically developing where we're this type of DJ. And so we want to attract this type of client. Do you have an ideal client on your end?
So I do have an ideal client, and I think everybody should and does, hopefully, if they're running a business. But really my ideal client is the person that's looking to make their day super important to them. But they're not going to micromanage it, if that makes sense. And I don't know if micromanaging is the perfect word,
for lack
to
of a better
say.
term, yeah.
But somebody who trusts their vendors, when you trust your vendors, when you've done a deep dive into them and you've talked to them and you've had some connection with them and you trust them, when my clients trust me on all event scales, doesn't have to be weddings, it could be any of the other events, when they trust you, they'll step back and they'll let you do what you do because they see you as the professional and they have other things to worry about. And those particular clients, like I said, they will end up having the best events. They will have a stress-free event. They'll enjoy their event. You can see even at the end of the night, there is still a smile on their faces. You just don't see that overwhelm on their face because they have trusted who they've hired. And I think that is probably key in any industry, but trust your vendors. Trust that they've done this before. Trust that they're the professionals and that you are in good hands. And so that would be my ideal client. The clients for me that want to nitpick I don't even want to say nitpick. That's probably not a really good way to say that. But the clients that want to be involved at every little aspect and need to see every little thing developing, those are the clients that are going to burn us out. And you're going to burn yourself out. We have so many other clients that we're working with that we can't always tell you about every little detail. So trust that we've got it. because that's hard. And it takes away from other people's events when somebody is constantly communicating about this or that and things that they really could just step back and be like, we've got this. So my ideal client would be somebody who definitely trusts me.
Yeah.
Trusts me that I know what I'm doing, and they have all the faith that I'm going to pull it off, regardless of whatever comes up for that day.
Yeah. I like to talk about it like the reason you're hiring us is we're professional, we're experienced, but we can guarantee a certain outcome, you know. And in that, we want to get to know you. We want to hear your preferences. We want to hear your goals, your priorities, and then let us take all that and do what we do. If you're standing over us, making sure that we're, not this, do this, that makes it much more difficult to do what we do. And it changes what the outcome was going to be. Yes. If somebody's standing over me telling me, play this song next, play this song next, play this song next, that might be great, especially if you're happy with that at the end of the night and the guests are liking that. But it gives me no creative control to adjust with what I know will work, and, this isn't working. How about this? That type of thing in the music side of things.
Right. And honestly, take a deep breath and relax.
Yeah. Enjoy the day.
Get into the moment and enjoy the day. And again, like I said, and even leading up to it, sit back, relax, and let us do our thing. I mean, I've had requests where people are like, well, can you send me what my table is going to look like? Well, first off, that's not possible. If I'm doing fresh florals, it's not possible because I don't have the flowers.
The flowers aren't there yet.
Week. Sometimes 2 days, 3 days before. But even so, that where we design in our design barn, my design barn does not look like your venue. Mm-hmm. Okay, the venue's aesthetic plays a big part in your day and the way your event looks. So I can throw your stuff on a table, but you're not going to see the full picture. You're not going to envision what your day looks like because it's not in the right atmosphere. The table's not full the way it's presented when you walk into that room. There are a lot of factors that go in and how your table is going to look when I do it in my shop or the way it's going to look in the venue. Yeah. So you have to have some vision and some release.
Yes.
That we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we want to know that. We need to know that.
Right.
But then also you got to trust that once you've communicated that, and it's very clear we get it, we understand, let us do it.
Yes.
People put on, I must play this song. You've got to hear but I can't guarantee that your guests are going to dance to that song.
No.
I don't have the authority, the availability, Exactly. You can't force someone to dance if they don't want to dance.
Yeah, no, you can't. No, you really can't. And that really is the DJ's job, is to adjust to what the guests want. Yeah. Not everybody, sometimes we have weddings where the couple is older, so their family and friends are older. They're not looking for that house party. Yeah. They're looking for maybe some light music so that they can talk, because you can't always talk over, loud music. So you have to adjust to that too, and you're going to adjust to what the crowd wants, no different than when you go to a concert and the band adjusts to what the crowd wants. If the crowd is real hyped up and they're excited, they're going to keep playing 4 or 5 more songs instead of, ending the evening. Or they're going to be like, you know what, this crowd isn't, let's bring it down a little bit. Maybe there's something happening in the crowd that people are seeing, that maybe the music is, think mosh pits.
Yes, yeah.
Think mosh pits. Like if the band sees that this going on, it's kind of like they can adjust and say, maybe let's play this song now. That's like where everybody's friends again, So I mean, it's part of it is crowd control as well. So yeah.
Yeah. The best weddings that you've ever been a part of or been to, what are some of the elements that you saw that those weddings had?
Oh, the best parties, the best weddings are when the DJ can rock the house. Like when the DJ can rock the house and everybody's having a really great time. That's it. That's it. Because even like I said, I'll be breaking it down in the corner. Even for me, I'm having a good time. So, but as a whole, your day is about you, but you do want to think of your guests. Okay, so if your guests are just not people, you don't have that crowd that wants to dance, then make sure you're providing them with spaces or activities that is different than dancing. First off, I am 100% going to always vote for open bar.
Yes.
Okay? It's something, we're in the Midwest. Come on.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
This is what we do.
This is what we do.
I love that.
So if the drinks are flowing and the DJ's good, your wedding is going to rock out. I mean, when the crowd is singing along to the songs because they know them nostalgically or just currently, the nostalgic songs. I mean, it's amazing how everybody in the crowd is singing. Like somebody in their 40s and somebody in their 20s are singing to the same song. Like that's powerful. Yeah. That's powerful, and those are memory makers. So when that DJ is killing it, they're killing it. But if that's not the vibe of your day, then have activities for people to do that fits with your crowd. Lounge areas, a lot of people don't think about them, but man, are they important. And even your venue can be providing them. I mean, it's not something that you actually necessarily have to bring in through the rental company. But having a space for people to go and relax in either just sitting at the dance floor. Sometimes you can set up a lounge area, and that's a lot of fun. And that way, when people get tired, they just plop down on that couch or in that chair and continue to be able to stay in the party because that's what you want to do. Some people don't leave the dance floor because they don't want to miss out. But if you have a lounge area sitting right there, then they're not technically leaving.
Yes.
They're resting their feet.
Front row seat.
Yes, they're taking their shoes off. They're putting their slippers on, but they're not missing out on anything. But some other weddings, maybe we need a lounge area, a quiet area where mom and grandma can catch up.
Sneak away, yeah.
You personally can sneak away. You want to have those nooks and crannies for even the couples to do that. Yeah. Indoor, outdoor venues are really great. So a venue with a terrace or an outdoor space where guests can also go out is also a key. One of the biggest things I will tell my couples all day long is make sure you have some space outside. If you're, especially like July and August, it's beautiful, but it's hot. Mm-hmm. But as the evening settles and the sun goes down, some people just want to be outside. Plus, we also have to think about smokers.
Yeah.
There's always going to be smokers.
We're the Midwest. That's what we do.
We're from the Midwest. That's what we do. So you got to think of vapors and smokers. Yeah. They need a place to go because if they don't, they're either leaving your wedding altogether, or they are gonna go sit in their car, or they're just not gonna be present. Yeah. But if they can walk outside, hit their vape, come back in,
still be part of the event.
They're still a part of the event. So I think that those are pretty key areas for a lot of people. You don't always have to feed people either. You can do it. Like one of my favorite events are when there's just a big grazing table. Yeah. And you're grazing. People are grazing all night long, and not sitting down for that heavier meal.
Yeah, just apps.
Just apps
desserts and
desserts and apps and the late night snack. I mean, late night pretzels, come on.
Yes.
That's like the best. Like even when I'm like, there's warm pretzels. I will have one of those. Like that's what your guests want. They want the party to start the second they walk through that door at 6 o'clock cocktail hour. They want the party started. They don't want to go through all this long formal traditional meal and speeches and things like that. Like they're there, yes, they're there for you, but they want to celebrate you. They want to dance. They want to celebrate. They want to have a good time. It's important to think about a lot of that stuff. We don't have to feed everybody. You don't have to give them that heavy meal and spend that $100 a plate, because that's about most of the time what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So
easily.
Open bar, grazing table, late night snacks, perfection.
100%. Well, Gina, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. If people are looking for the kind of experience and to work with you, the kind of experience you've been talking about, what's the best way they can reach out and get in touch with you? So
the best way will be, if you're contacting me for a service, will be through my website, which is www.sugarontherimevents.com. And you can always email me right through there. There's some forms that we have available there to fill out. And then you can reach me via email at info@sugarontherimevents.com. And of course, we are on all socials, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, which TikTok is the wild, wild west for me, but I'm still over there doing my thing. Not as curated as Instagram, but I have a good time over on TikTok.
Yes.
But yeah, all social platforms as well. Google us, Sugar on the Rim events, or Sugar on the Rim events, and you'll find us right on Google as well. And obviously we have the Knot, the Wedding Wire, and Zola as well. But the best place to get me will be on my website through one of those contact forms or emailing me directly.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much. And this has been the DJ Insider Podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm Gina.
And we will see you at your wedding.
Absolutely.
Thanks.